so we're live right now. Right now we're on. We've got Chris from Zowie Bowie. How about that?
Hi, Chris.
How's that for a fucking
I'll tell
intro?
you something. I think it's pretty outstanding that I'm so excited to be here. I actually got up and set 2 alarms to be here by 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Thank you for joining
Thank
us.
you.
Oh
Well,
my
it's
gosh.
It's a rare thing that, it's amazing that the city functions during the afternoon as well.
Right? People are out in the
Sunlight.
daytime.
How do you feel about the sunlight?
Yeah, apparently there's vitamins that are good for you in that thing that I haven't seen the sun since the 70s. Hence my beautiful spray tan.
I like it.
Yeah, thanks.
Keeps
When do
young
you
that
normally?
way.
What is your schedule? When you go to bed? When
You
does
know,
your head
I'll-
hit the pillow at night?
I'll tell you something, as you or may or may not know, I'm an entertainer here in Las Vegas, and when you choose to do that for a living, you also choose to be something of a vampire. My life for 30 years has been waking up around 3 or 4 in the afternoon and going to bed around 6 or 7 in the morning. However, there's something that drastically changes your schedule when you have a little child. As I have 2 years ago, I have a little beautiful baby girl who's now 2, and so now she acts as my alarm clock every morning, and so my hours have shifted considerably. But because of my shows, there's many times I don't get home till 3 or 4 in the morning, and then you just can't go to sleep right away. So I'm still up until around 5 at least, and she's got me up saying, "Daddy, read me a book" at 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, and so I don't sleep much anymore, but that's okay.
You
It's
take
worth
naps.
it. It's worth
You
it.
take naps.
Sure.
Was it shock in the beginning, like the transition, or did you try to prepare for it before she was born?
Well, to be honest, I don't think I've had to wake up before noon since I was in high school. And so there was no preparing for that.
Okay.
But again, like I say, when you see this beautiful little innocent creature in your face saying, "Daddy, I want to play," it doesn't matter how you feel. You're just so eager to get up and share as much time as you can with them while they're young, and it's so much fun. And it's changed my life, of course, for the better, because this sounds so kind of cliche, but it really does make you reprioritize your life and what's important, and it makes you, certainly for a guy like me, I don't know if I want to use this word, but it's making me responsible, John. Oh God, there goes my career.
It's overrated.
Because I'll be honest with what I do, which is, if you don't know, I have kind of a high energy nightclub concert that I've been doing here in Las Vegas for the past 13 and a half, 14 years. Well,
so fun to
thank you.
watch. No, it's
But
fun
I've been
to
doing
watch.
it for many years prior to being here, and it's so nutty and juvenile. If I grow up, I'm out of business. And so I think, even though I'm having to be more responsible, because I have this little 2-year-old child, it's made me return to my youth, which is really more my maturity level anyway.
So it worked out perfectly.
Worked out great
And
for
your
me.
favorite.
Yes, and I mentioned my little 2-year-old. Her name is Ava, but there would be no Ava if it weren't for meeting my wife.
Yeah.
Little over 4 years ago now, and her name is Jennifer. And talk about being the driving force of making my life not only better, but I think even more successful and responsible. She's really kind of cleaned my ass up and whipped me into shape, and all the good things a good spouse is supposed to do, I suppose. But so between those 2 ladies in my life now, I've never been happier. This is the 25th anniversary of Zowie Bowie.
25th?
Wow.
And the 35th anniversary of me performing live for a living, because 10 years prior to singing, I was a heavy metal drummer with long hair I could sit on.
No, you weren't. Really?
Oh yeah, that was.
Do we have a photo?
that was
I
the
think we
good-
should insert a
Oh,
photo
he's gonna insert the photo right there.
of your long
Yep.
hair. How long was it?
I could sit
Longer
on
than
it.
mine?
Well, I'll be honest.
You could sit on your
I
hair?
could sit on. I
sit
could
on
literally
her
pull it
hair?
around here and tie it in a knot.
Seriously?
Now I can
gotta
do that with
see
my back
this.
hair and the hair growing out of my ears. See, things change when you get to be my age.
Dude,
I thought the little one
don't even
holds
get me
on.
started with the ear hair. Don't even get me started.
Or
Oh,
the nose hair?
yeah, it's all.
You have a challenge
it's
and you
terrible.
haven't accepted it.
Oh, no, I'm not doing that. She wants to do this crazy challenge.
Have you seen this? It's like a nose hair kit you can buy in the store and you do it at home. Oh, I did it and I challenged.
It's like wax, right?
Wax, you put it in your nose.
She wants to challenge people to wax your nose hair. I mean, are you kidding me right now?
I think there's something kind of sexy about it if you
I'm
have
gonna
your
challenge.
girlfriend or boyfriend.
I'm gonna
do it for you.
challenge you and your missus.
Well,
Your wife's like, hail.
I don't know
to
how
the
I've
no.
digressed to this already. We're not even 5 minutes into this, but I'm admitting something that I shouldn't. And as my wife finds great pleasure in, as she refers to it, trimming my potatoes. She goes, "You got potatoes in there. You got potatoes in there."
Oh, we're
just
so,
love your
So
impression
she
of her.
comes
We're
with this,
so
this
gonna
evil
challenge you.
wand of death.
Really?
Says, "Nyeh," and I just scream like a little ninny. And
Yeah.
But then afterwards, I'm like, oh,
I love this.
Yeah.
much better.
He'll do it. He'll probably do
But
it.
that's more of
But I
a,
have
that's like,
nothing-
that's the little trimmer thing.
Yes, I have no say.
Right. But the trimmer I could
with
deal
anything
with.
really for that matter.
She's talking
It's a
about
trimmer.
Wax.
Waxing? No.
waxing.
Okay.
No chance.
Whatever.
I'm
I
out.
tried. I tried.
Yeah, I'm not taking part of that challenge. I will not accept that challenge.
Fine.
No.
Fine. It is what it is. Moving forward.
How did you come up with the name Zowie Bowie? I've never known.
Well, as I mentioned, I was a drummer back in Arizona and in
Yep.
Hollywood. That's where I did a lot of this nonsense back in the hard rock days. And during that time, and even leading up to when I became a drummer, I always had this fantasy and this desire and passion to not just be a singer up front, but to be a Vegas guy, a Vegas entertainer. That was really my passion, even more so than being a singer. I was never driven by the love of singing as much as I was driven by the passion of wanting to come to Las Vegas and be somebody who had an effect on others like a particular man did with me back in the late 70s.
I know where you're headed. I know where you're headed.
And so,
I know this man.
to lead up to answer your question first
Yeah.
and foremost, I had some friends that were in an early 80s novelty band back in Arizona, and they had this big concert they were going to do, and their singer got sick. And they said, "Chris, we know you've always wanted to be a singer. Here's your chance. Can you learn a bunch of songs within the next couple days? And you're going to be in front of like 3,000 people." It was a big deal. And I thought, oh my Lord, this sounds very nerve-wracking. I want to do it. I'm going to do it, but I'm scared to death because I'm now in my late 20s. I've never held a microphone, let alone sang.
Well, you never sang before this moment?
No. And
You're
I always
kidding.
had this dream of wanting to. I was a singer back on the drums, but never up front. I'll put it that way. I've never been the lead singer in front of people like that with that kind of a responsibility. So I thought, my God, this is something I want to do, but I think I'm going to hide behind a character. Because if I walk through as Chris Phillips, I'm going to crumble. This is ridiculous. Who wants to see Chris Phillips with this long hair trying to do 80s new wave music? I said, well, because of the theme of the music and because they even do some David Bowie music, I'm going to pretend to be David Bowie's son, Zowie Bowie. And if I completely fall on my face, who cares? I'm David Bowie's kid.
Genius.
And so, hence the name became my character that I came out with. And so I put my hair down my shirt and did myself up, and I kind of transformed myself into this bigger-than-life persona. Because, quite frankly, at home, I'm a very introverted, quiet person. And I knew that wasn't going to work on stage because my idols, besides getting to who inspired me, were guys like David Lee Roth and Sammy Davis Jr. and these bigger-than-life characters with gaudy jewelry and outrageous personalities. I thought, those are the guys that really inspired me. I'm gonna try to fit into that mode if possible. And so I thought, since Zowie Bowie, the real Zowie Bowie, wasn't using his name, he had, as a young child, changed his name to Duncan Jones, David's kid, who incidentally became a rather famous movie director. But he's never gone by Zowie Bowie. And I thought, man, that's kind of a cool name. I'm a fan of David Bowie, but I'm not like obsessed with him or anything, but I thought the name was kind of cool.
Yeah.
So I thought I would use that for the show, and by God, I got through the show and I thought, that's it. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I now found my calling. So I went home immediately, cut all my hair off, sold my drums, and started my own band called Zowie Bowie. And it was, at the time, it was kind of an early 80s novelty type show. And that fell by the wayside pretty quickly because then I transformed it into what Zowie Bowie is today, which, like I say, I started 25 years ago, almost to the day. And I guess I'm proud to say this, but it's a little disturbing to say we have not had a week off for 23 years straight now.
That's amazing.
No, I don't
That's
think
not
I've ever
easy to
seen
do.
You take a day off. You're always
So,
performing.
and so that means 3 to 4 days a week for 23 years. And as crazy as that may sound, I can't wait to get, after a couple days off, I can't wait to get back on stage, even to this day.
Yeah.
Because for the most part, during the last couple decades, I've worked Thursday through Saturday. You know, so you have Sunday through Wednesday to kind of reinvigorate yourself, and by Thursday, I'm anxious
You're
to
ready.
get back up there. Plus, you know, and more realistically, if we don't do a week of shows, my band doesn't get paid.
Right.
And I've been responsible for supporting them and their families for years and years, and so they want to play. And if they want to play, I'm there. And I personally haven't missed a single show in 23 years, and I have a keyboard player, his name is Dan Walker, who can say the exact same thing. I brought him on then, and he hasn't been gone during all that time either. So, you know, we've kind of
Well, it says something
become this
about
odd
you.
couple on
Yeah.
stage.
Yeah.
I don't think people realize that part of it, that it's not, doesn't just fall on you. Like, you know, obviously it's challenging enough to get the gigs, right? Week in and week out, and to, when you do get it, to keep the gig, because there's always someone that wants to replace you, and also just staying healthy and all of those things that come with the day-to-day. But keeping the band together is equally as challenging, because like you said, if they
as
move
well as
on,
anybody,
and
you know, when you create a band, you're creating, in a sense, a family, because you're not just with each other on stage. You spend a lot of time with each other off stage, and in a dressing room, or in some cases a tour bus or a recording studio or whatever type of situation you're in, and you really have to get along with them well.
right.
And so if it clicks as a family backstage, typically it should click and work with the right kind of energy and camaraderie on stage. And I've been very fortunate that the people I've had in my bands over the years have you know, they're friends first. And what they do on stage is almost a distant second. Because I think what happens, and what I've learned a long time ago, just from my own experience, is when people go to see an audience, they really, within minutes, can feel the energy of whatever you're giving to them. What kind of, you know, you can empathize, and you can feel, do they care? Are they really here for us, or are they just doing their thing and out the door?
Right.
And the whole reason I do what I do is to try to make people feel good. That's all that matters to me. I'm in business not because as I've always said, it's not about how great you are on stage. It's about how great you make other people feel from the stage. And that's been the whole backbone of why I think that I've been able to stay in business and keep shows, and because, you know, it's about the people who come to see me, not me.
Right.
And so as long as my band understands that, it works great. And I've been like I say, I've been working with some great musicians over the years. I've had female counterparts over the years that I've had two in particular, but I've had two gals with me now for the last couple of years. One is Nieve Melandra, and she's been with me for 7 or 8 years, and she's amazing.
She's great.
And then this other incredible talent that I've had with me for about 2 or 3 years now, her name is Jamie Lynch,
Phenomenal.
who's been in various other big shows here in town. But I'm sad to say that this Saturday
No.
No.
is her last night with us,
No.
temporarily,
Okay.
Okay.
because she's going to have
Baby time.
her first little baby
Yes.
girl herself. And so
Okay.
we're so excited and proud
So
of her.
excited for her.
Congrats.
And so,
It's gonna be a beautiful mama.
you know, with that said, you know, I've had the task of having to figure out who to bring in now as a replacement, and I couldn't be more proud and excited to announce that we are going to be joined on stage by one of the probably premier singers, entertainers here in this town that's very well loved and liked, named Ann Martinez.
Oh yeah.
And if you know who that
She's
is,
got pipes on
you know,
her. Like, she's amazing.
You know, I always try to bring people up on stage that are better than I am, but then that's not difficult. You want to be the weakest link in the chain, and I always have been, believe me, when it comes to talent. But I think, you know, just very blunt, I think my talent lies in my love for people.
Yeah.
I honestly love to walk out on stage, because unlike most artists or singers, especially that have records or singles or some form of career that people go to see specifically, most of the time when I walk out on stage, I'm talking about 1,000, 2,000 people who have no idea who I am.
Right.
And so you have to sell them on whatever it is you're selling
Yeah.
within minutes. And for me, again, I'm not trying to sell them on my talent. I'm selling them on, hey, we have a big, great group of people here from all over the world. Let's be like a bunch of friends in a high school backyard party, or a
Right.
family. And if I can make them feel like that within 5 minutes, I've got them for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Is that how
And,
long your set is? 3 hours?
Depending on the shows that I do, Fremont Street Experience is 3 hours. Most things are usually an hour and a half or 2 hours, but regardless if it's like I say, a half hour or 3 or 4 hours, it's tough to hold on to an audience without some kind of big production show.
For sure.
And with me, it's just a microphone, a cocktail, and a band. That's it.
Right.
And hopefully, whoever I am, is something that they are able to relate to, which is the key, is relating. And so, I'm looking out there in an audience, particularly on Fremont. You're talking about the most diverse demographic you can possibly imagine.
Oh yeah.
Because it's people from all over the world, all ages, all everything you can imagine. And I'll be damned, within 5 minutes, we aren't all the same. Some people would disagree with me vehemently that we're different. We aren't. Because when you look in their eyes and they give themselves up to you to some degree, you can look kind of deep into who they really are. And man, I'll tell you, at the end of the day, we're really similar. Everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody's really similar. So if you can tap into who you were as an insecure high schooler, kind of, which is what I still am, man, I think they appreciate me appreciating them.
Right.
And then they appreciate me back.
Yeah.
And then whatever it is I'm doing is secondary, incidental. And if I'm able to perform some kind of music that they like, or they're enjoying, or they seem to have fun watching, all the better. Because I do 2 or 3 different types of shows that it's the exact same principle.
Right.
If I'm doing hardcore hip-hop rap, or if I'm doing some old Bobby Darin or Frank Sinatra song from 60 years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People are the same, and if you can make them feel good, that's the greatest feeling in the world. And I know your dad knows exactly what I'm talking about, because if I may tell this little story,
Go ahead.
I would
Do
not
it.
be
I'm excited.
sitting here.
It's so crazy.
I
when you
wouldn't
say
be a
that.
Vegas entertainer. I may not even be in entertainment if it weren't for a particular evening that, thank God, I got to experience back. I believe it was, I can't pinpoint the year, it was in the late 70s. I came to Las Vegas for the first time by invitation of my uncle who lived here, and he was kind of a prominent attorney. And so we pulled up, and to the first hotel I ever went to was the Hilton, which was the International, now the Westgate. And he had a Rolls Royce, and he was kind of a flashy guy. And I was just a simple dork from Tempe, Arizona, who'd never been anywhere or done anything.
How old are you at this point?
I would have been
about
approximately 11, 12 years
Okay.
old. And he said, we're going to go to a show in Vegas. And I thought that would be the greatest thing ever, because I was always intrigued by entertainers. And I was one of those dorky kids that, was into musicals even and shit like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I really want to admit that, but, I had my Farrah Fawcett poster, of course, but then
You had that poster?
Oh,
Everyone had that poster.
Who didn't?
Did you have
Yep.
it?
Of course I had
Of
that
course.
poster.
Ty,
Yeah.
did you have it? No.
No.
Right next to it, I had my original Broadway cast of Annie.
That's hilarious.
You had to balance it out a little,
Yeah, so I don't know what kind of life was in the cards for me, but nonetheless, I had this experience walking into the Hilton Hotel for the first time, and I was just so overwhelmed by the sophistication of the class and the glamour and the lights and the sounds and the brass and the marble, and oh God, this is like my kind of place.
Right. And the Hilton was the spot back then.
Hilton
Like, you
was
had
the
Caesars, you had Hilton,
shit.
you had the Riviera.
For many years, as you know, it was the largest hotel in the world.
Right.
And for me, it was the most glamorous thing
Elvis
I've ever-
performed at the
Well,
Hilton.
I know, it's got a lot of.
And I'll talk about him first before I get
Famous
onto the
people.
show. The reason this was such a big deal to me walking into this place is because the only music I really ever listened to when I was really young, in the early 70s, was my mother's Elvis records, particularly the ones that were recorded live at the Hilton in Las Vegas. And I
Wow.
thought, oh boy, if I could somehow live the life that this guy must have had, where he was doing his shows, and then who knows where he was going afterwards. And to me, I never cared about writing a song or going on tour or going to Hollywood. I wanted to go to Vegas. Because when I was a kid, we didn't go to Disneyland to see Mickey Mouse. We went to Vegas to see Don Rickles,
Yep.
Paul Anka, and Frank, and these guys that were so incredibly influential to me. But the very first experience I had in a Vegas showroom was this night going to the Hilton, and we went into this big, gorgeous showroom where I knew Elvis performed, and I was just shaking with excitement. And there was this wonderful, distinguished maitre d' named Angel.
Oh my God.
Do you know Angel?
Yeah, of course.
Who came up to my uncle and said, "Hello, Mr. Phillips, we have your table waiting." And I just thought this was the shit. So excited. So we went down and had the VIP back, when there was showrooms, even that place, the beautiful round booths.
Yeah,
in my
yeah.
opinion, should be forever.
You ate dinner
Yes, I
then
agree.
during a
Oh,
show
sure,
too,
sure.
right?
You had the dinner show, and then you had the late show. And not to get off the subject, but back then, you had big time headlining shows that were 1, 2, 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
Which you can't even fathom these days. It was so cool.
Right.
You had your dinner show early in the evening, and then they did,
Yep.
like Wayne. Good God, you would
Yep.
4, 5, 6 shows a night. It was like, what? We sat down. I didn't know what to expect. I was a fan of this guy because I certainly had a television. And
I
was
love the build up right now.
know.
It's so good.
I had a big, I had so much excitement inside me to see this guy that I loved on TV. The curtain opened and there was this like 32-piece orchestra with this wall of sound that just hit you over the head, and you're like, this feels and it's so amazing. And then this guy walks out, and he's gleaming with charisma and personality, and he's got this beautiful tan and these beautiful white teeth and this crazy hair. And I thought, I think I like where this is going. And halfway through the show, he stops and he comes out into the audience, and he's walking around and he's acknowledging people, but he came straight to our table, and he leaned down and he looked at me, and he took his hand out and he goes, "Welcome to my show, young man. I hope you're having a great time in Las Vegas." And Candida, and then went on and did his thing. Tony Orlando, your dad, made an impression on me
That's
that
amazing.
stuck so hardcore.
Aw.
Not just because of his singing and his performing, but it was about the feeling and the energy he gave me that night to think, if this guy can make me feel this great, wouldn't that be an amazing thing at some point in my life to do that for others? So I always had in the back of my head, not only do I want to be an entertainer that makes people feel good, I want to do it in Vegas. I want to be that Vegas guy. Because now I got Elvis, now your dad, Tony Orlando. I thought, this is truly some people say Disneyland is the happiest place on earth. It's Vegas. And so years went by, and then of course I was influenced by like the first rock concert I ever went to was Van Halen, seeing David Lee Roth and these other crazy guys.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, hell yeah. But it was always that one night in Vegas, seeing Tony Orlando, that stuck in my head, that even though I was a drummer and I should have gone to college, like all my family is attorneys and educators, and then they have their black sheep son that wants to go to Vegas and be a showgirl. And then,
You're almost there with all the bling.
yeah. Well, you can see my influence of Sammy Davis Jr. and Elvis has never left the building. And so when I had that opportunity to finally sing and to do what your dad did for me by really touching people, physically touching people and making them feel good, I could tell that this is something I want to do for the rest of my life. And so for many years I put together shows and did this and that. And it wasn't until, like I say, I became Zowie Bowie that I said, okay, my goal is now to come to Las Vegas and to live out my dream. That I don't know how I'm going to make it work. I don't have no clue what I'm doing, but I'm going to put a show together in Phoenix, Scottsdale, Arizona, with the intent of coming here. Well, lo and behold, after a relatively short period of time, it became a rather successful, almost phenomenon in North Scottsdale, where live bands weren't necessarily doing this, but we were bringing in 4,000 people in a week into this luxurious
Wow.
mega club in North Scottsdale.
Wow.
Because I thought to myself at the time, cover bands just weren't cool and or necessarily. There's always original rock.
They were
bands.
almost frowned upon.
Almost frowned upon.
Right.
But then came this band, and I have to tip my hat to them, because if it weren't for them, I'm not even sure if I'd be here. But remember the Boogie Nights?
Yeah.
They
Sure.
essentially started doing that gimmick in Arizona, in Tempe in particular.
Yep.
This club that I would go to every Sunday, and I would sit there and watch them and analyze and think, God, you know what? Maybe I don't have to write music and tour and put out records. I can just be a cover band and live like a rock star, because these guys were in limos and chicks and money. And I thought,
Right.
damn, that's the way to go for a guy like me. So if I can do something along those lines, maybe I can venture into Vegas. So I put together, before anybody was doing this new concept of a show where a gal and I that looked like we were just, you know, these beach bums from Southern California doing hip hop, rap. Nobody was doing that, particularly people that kind of looked like us and
Sure.
lived in that environment. And we thought, you know, instead of doing the disco thing or the 80s thing or like every other band, we're going to go the top 40 hip hop route. Along with that, I was really analyzing over the years what made people dance and what made people leave the dance floor. And as great as a band may be, they would play a song, then they would stop, and they would talk, and everybody would leave the dance floor. But if I was going to work in the nightclubs, I better keep people on the dance floor.
Yeah.
So I came up at a time that nobody was really doing this, is to create a show that was very similar to a DJ. And with DJs, obviously, they play little pieces of songs, then they blend it into the next one, then the next one, the next one, and they never let you leave the dance floor. Well, that was the kind of concept I took into my show, and so I started taking 9, 10, 12, 13 songs, and instead of playing the entire 4 or 5 minute song,
Yeah.
I would chop them up in my own little arrangements, and I'd get rid of bridges and slow parts and crap
Yeah.
that nobody wants to listen to, and I would rearrange the song so it's nothing but a chorus and a verse and 2 choruses and just the meat and potatoes of the song that everybody was familiar with, and then hit, and if you didn't like it, who cares? 2 minutes later, you're into the next song. And so we would do these 40-minute medleys of songs that were like a DJ, and hence
It's genius.
the
Yeah, it
dance
is.
floor never stopped dancing. And so it was kind of a formula between us, you know, this guy and girl doing this music that you wouldn't expect to be coming out of their mouth. Had the
Right.
backwards hat and the chains and the tank top, and it was kind of ridiculous back then, but it worked.
Right.
And so lo and behold, one night we were having, you know, a big show, and there's thousands of people there. And, the Fertittas, who obviously own,
Everything.
you know, they're more
A
powerful
lot
than
of
God, for God's
properties
sake.
here.
They caught wind of that, and they had some people, or they or themselves, I'm not really even sure how it worked back then, it was so long ago. But about 15 years ago, they caught wind of what we were doing, and they said, you know, this might be a really lovely fit for this new property we're building in Las Vegas that's going to be our flagship called Red Rock. And it's our luxury property. And they you know, kind of did their homework on us, and they saw that we went from nothing to endorsing Mercedes-Benz within a year in Scottsdale, Arizona, with this big following, and you know, it's kind of a luxury band brand,
Yep.
so to speak, as silly as that sounds. So they thought it was a good fit for Red Rock. So we got talking, and I thought, oh my God, here's my chance to come to Vegas, because I want to do it, and I want to do it right. I don't want to come in and starve and have to fight. I want to do it right, because, you know, we had this nice situation out in Scottsdale. I didn't want to leave. We were doing rather well, and so they brought me out here, and they took me on a tour of the property in this place called Summerlin, which was kind of like North Scottsdale where we were playing, compared to in Scottsdale. We played at this place called Barcelona. It was almost exactly the same distance and the same kind of neighborhood there as Red Rock is compared to the Strip
Okay.
out in Summerlin. It was a very similar set of circuits, so I thought, this is perfect for us. We can appeal to the locals. I don't have to depend on the ebb and flow of tourists,
Yep.
or if there's a busy week or a dead week, or most importantly, having to sell a ticket.
Right.
Right. You
We're
just
gonna
show up and do your
We're
thing.
going to depend on locals, which hopefully would stay rather steady, and I might be able to have some sustainability or some shelf life if I don't have to worry about conventions and other things. So we set up shop, and within a couple months it turned into a big thing, and you couldn't get into the room, and things were going great, and everything's awesome. And we thought to ourselves, are we coming here, and are we going to last 14 days? And I'm so blessed to say we're now in our 14th year now on that same stage and same hotel, and I owe the Fertittas my entire career, livelihood, and everything. And if it weren't for them, I'm not sure if it would have happened.
That's
Certainly
incredible.
not like that.
What a story.
And since then, you know, we branched out, and I've played various other properties. But the reason I came here, I had an agenda and a mission, and it wasn't to necessarily do what I'm still doing. It was to bring back the old, classic, vintage Vegas big band that was so inspirational to me with my idols, and to have the kind of orchestra your dad had and do that kind of music. And I thought, man, if I could do that somehow, my life is going to be complete. So when I negotiated the deal with them, and with other properties since, I say, yeah, I'll do the dance thing. I'll create revenue, bar sales with my, hip hop nightclub concert. If you please allow me on my own dime produce what I really am here for, my passion, which is this 15-piece orchestra big band, Tux Gown, Frank Sinatra, Tom Jones,
Yeah.
Tony Orlando did several of his songs,
Yeah.
Steve and Edie, who were idols of mine.
Oh, sure.
Bobby Darin, and Elvis. If I could do a show like that, then I was going to be really proud of where I'm at. And so I did and have been able to do that since. And, we've been in major showrooms and had the billboards and the things and all this stuff that you dream of as a kid. And it's just been a fantasy over the years come true. And somehow, at my age, I don't know how in the hell I'm doing it, but we're still keeping it going. And
I can tell you how, because you're great at it. That's
Right.
how.
well, you see, you're being very generous,
100%.
but-
When I first saw you, I felt like it was at Green Valley, but maybe I'm wrong.
No,
Am I-
it was.
Okay,
We were out there
because
for
I
sure.
saw that
You and the big
concept.
band.
I saw the big
Yeah.
band. That was the first time, and I
I don't
remember
think I've seen the big band.
Oh.
it's
Yeah,
incredible. I mean,
loved
all
it.
of it's incredible, but like what I love about what you've been able to do is you look. Somehow you found you did the impossible. The impossible to me is you actually are all of those people you just named. You are a little bit David Bowie. You are a little bit, Mick Jagger. You are a little bit Tony O. You are a little bit Bobby Darin. You're actually all of those people blended into one. Your look is rock star, over the top. You know what I mean? You somehow found a way to deliver that where when you watch the show, it's not cheesy. It delivers. It's cheesy when you mean to be sometimes, you know what I mean? Like in humor. You don't take yourself too seriously. Like when you come in, it's such a shock. You shock the audience.
Oh,
At least
wow.
that's what happened to me. Because when I first thought, and the name is genius because the name sounds like something you're supposed to go see.
Right.
There's some of those names that just click, and to me,
You're nice
like
to say
Zowie
that.
Bowie sounds like, oh, I'm supposed to go see that, like when you're in Vegas. That name does that to you. And
Wow.
when I first went to
Yeah,
Green
you're
Valley,
better than therapy.
yeah, right? I actually went to your show specifically to see your show because word of mouth, everyone was like, you gotta go see
yeah.
Zoe 100%.
You were definitely a word
think
of
about
mouth.
it, when I saw you, it was like
Local
you were
love.
at
Yeah.
Green Valley Ranch, and I lived in LA, so I would come to Vegas. When you come to Vegas, there was no Uber when I first saw you. It's the same drive, but whatever. Uber sounds better. But to get in a taxi to go from the Strip
the way to
to
Red
Green
Rock.
Valley,
Green
which is
Valley.
like $50 or $60. You know what I mean? Like it's an
Yeah.
expensive ride. It feels like you're in the middle of nowhere. Like now that I live here,
right,
it's
right.
not in the middle of nowhere. But back then,
Sure, no, of
wait,
course,
where
I
are
get
we
it.
going? Like I felt like we were on this freeway forever. I'm like, what are we doing? This is so
You did
stupid.
this?
Yeah, my friends are giving me a bunch of shit. They're like, what are we doing? I'm like,
Why
it's
are we
gonna be
going
good.
off this
It's gonna be
trip?
good.
So
Yeah,
flattered.
And then
Boy,
when
did you get screwed.
but then when we got there and you did that show and you had a huge orchestra behind. How many? I don't remember how many pieces it was. Like 15 pieces or
Yeah,
something, or
yeah.
whatever it was.
Got the
You had
horns,
horns. You had
backing
yeah.
vocals.
It was incredible. It was great, and I remember telling my dad, "You gotta go see." And I thought I was telling my dad like breaking news, and my dad already knew. My dad was like,
What?
I swear to you, my dad was like, "Oh yeah, Zowie Bowie. Yeah, they're great." Who knew?
Well, I think probably one of the single greatest moments of being in Las Vegas was the night that I went to go see your father. And I don't know who I was with or how I ended up back in the dressing room, but I had the absolute childhood fantasy of telling this person who was so incredibly influential to me the story I just told you. I got to sit there and tell him that. And he looked at me and he goes, Chris, that's really amazing because almost the identical thing happened to me. Back in 1962, I think he said, if I recall, I went to go see this performer and a similar thing happened. And he goes, that changed my life. His name was Bobby Darin.
Yep.
And I thought, oh my God, this is,
Yep.
my little biggest fantasies are all coming to life here in front of me. And, you know, I think the reason, and I don't need to tell you or anybody who is a fan of your father, but your father is the absolute epitome of what I'm talking about, of somebody who knows that there is not a wall between the stage and the audience. Mm-hmm. And that they are there to feel good. And it is your job as the entertainer to do everything you can to make them forget whatever issues they may have had through the week, and to literally almost transform themselves into this essence in which he was sharing, and to let yourself go, to release yourself into their realm that they're creating. And your dad just has this way, and, you know, granted, he has some of the greatest American pop culture songs of all time, but it's him. It's his presence. It's his personality. He could go up there and not sing one of his songs and still sell it the exact same way. He could go up there and just talk, and people just love the feeling he gives people because he's so genuine, so loving, and so filled with life. And I was so taken by that. And, you know, there's obviously other entertainers who embody that spirit, but your dad in particular is probably one of the best I've ever seen. And thank God I went to the Hilton that one night and saw that, because to this day, over 40 years later, it's as if I was there yesterday. I can't remember yesterday, but I remember that night very well.
That's such a great story. I love it. I remember when I first met you, we talked about this before we started. You quizzed me. You were like, do you remember the first night I met you? And at first I thought it was backstage, but then I stopped myself, and I remember I actually walked up to you at Cosmo at the Chandelier Bar and introduced myself to you, and you told me this story.
You know what was really beautiful about that night is we had a couple drinks and we ended up dating for a couple weeks. It wasn't even my kind of thing, but it was so charming. That smile, oh Lord, those teeth, Jesus.
My Hollywood smile.
Look at it. Look at it.
Shameless plug, Hollywood smile coming at you.
Just look at this.
Yeah.
At least lasted 2 weeks. That's longer than any Vegas relationship.
You know,
Especially when you meet at a bar, the Chandelier Bar.
Right?
You realize, God, Zowie Bowie, he's easy.
He's easy.
Really easy. No, it's been a great adventure here, and I hope I never have to grow up and go home. And, you know, we're so honored to say that we, because of the locals, if it weren't for them, we wouldn't have this under our belt. But, you know, we're proud to say we've won Best of Las Vegas 6 times.
That's great.
And we just nominated for the 7th time, which gets announced in October. So if we were to win again, that'd be a miracle, and I almost feel guilty to some degree. But
You earned it. You deserve it.
But if we do, it isn't about us. It's about the people who come to see us, and they're the ones voted. They're the ones, and it's them. It's their award. Because to say, and you know this, to say that there's a best anything in this town is absurd.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's almost
there's so many
moronic
so
thing to
oversaturated
say.
with things
Because
to do.
every show is so great. There's so many talented, wonderful singers, dancers, artists, comedians, magicians, and they're all here to try to make people feel good and to do their thing and to somehow squeak out a living following their passion.
Yeah.
You know, not to be corny, but regardless what your passion is, if you don't pursue that and follow it, it's going to be a lot longer life, and more miserable and more depressing, having to do something you don't want to do. Even if you become financially successful, who wants to do something the rest of their life they don't want to do or are passionate about, compared to is if there's something you really feel strongly about and want to do, you'll figure out how to make a business out of it and make money at some point. And if you do, great. If not, at least you're happy doing what you love. And that certainly is in my, because I'll never be particularly famous or rich or like that, but I'm rich with happiness. And I've done okay, but I've never had a day where I just wish I would have gone to school.
Right, yeah, that's no good. Who wants that?
Shit, I'm the opposite. I'm like, I wish I never did.
Yeah, I tried when I graduated high school. I went to Arizona State University from 1984 to 1984. That's how that worked. I knew pretty quick
Long
that
career.
was just
One
semester?
One semester.
well, I didn't even make
Not
one
even.
semester.
Really?
2 weeks.
Yeah.
It was about 3 or 4 weeks into it, and I thought, who am I kidding? This is not what.
I always say I was enrolled, but I never went. Like I
Right.
I hated school.
You had a student ID.
Yeah, it
Discounts
wasn't
for
for
things.
me.
I just felt myself fantasizing and dreaming about what I wanted to do throughout the whole class or when I was trying to study. I couldn't read couldn't get through. I'm not going to admit that. That's too embarrassing. But because of who it is, I think you'll find this funny. I've somehow got through life without ever reading a book, ever,
Not one book.
except for one.
Oh.
And I'm not talking about red fern grows and shit when you're in 4th grade.
Right. That doesn't count. See Sam Run doesn't
Yeah,
count
in high
as
school.
reading a book.
I'm talking about after graduation, sitting down with a novel.
Okay.
I've never read a book except for one, and it's called Why Me by Sammy Davis Jr.
Really?
That's the only book I've ever read.
Why that one?
I can't beat that one. So no, never. I just want to experience shit.
Did you ever meet Sammy?
No, I
No?
saw him perform live, of course, and talk about Mr. Entertainment. I mean, he exuded it through his fingernails. I mean, it's just
Yeah. Who are three? So let's say he's one. Who are two other entertainers that you wish you could have met that you never got to meet?
Well, this sounds odd, but of course, this sounds so cliche and stereotypic. But there's the Frank Sinatra's, Elvis's, David Lee Roth for me personally. But there's one guy that influenced me too that I wish I could have met. It's Johnny Carson.
Oh, that's a good one.
And the reason I say Johnny Carson is, later in life I learned he was a different kind of person off stage than a lot of people knew about. And taking that aside, just watching how he handled himself with people and how he seemed like he was just a normal, down-home guy who was the king of Hollywood to some degree during his time. I just thought that was so intriguing.
Yeah.
And the way he was able to bring the best out of his guests.
Yeah.
And I could watch and analyze how he was a master at what he could do with just pure conversation.
Yeah.
Just that, that's you can apply that to a lot of things, and so I was really influenced by him as well.
He was great.
Yeah, I was. But then there's when I was certain stories like when I was in the early '80s, I was into Motley Crue and these rock bands. I thought, oh hell yeah, I want chicks and crazy life and motorcycles and all that shit. And so my truth be told, in 1984, my room was covered in nothing but Motley Crue pictures. Vince Neil, Nikki Sixx, and Tommy Lee. Oh my God. So I always dreamed of being those guys for a minute. And then later in life, lo and behold, I become friends with Vince Neil, living here, and then called him a friend, and he's been on stage with me on several occasions, and it's so funny because you have this impression of Vince Neil.
Yeah.
If you can imagine him with a 15-piece vintage Vegas big band in a suit singing "Fly Me to the Moon."
He did that?
Really?
Several times.
What?
That to me was
Yeah,
just
that's
like,
cool.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. You've arrived. That's
I've
your
come-
arrived moment.
Yes. And he's such a sweet guy.
Yeah.
To be honest, and I'm so happy for him that he's found success and some happiness. He's met a wonderful girl, and now they live in this fucking castle in Nashville, and I'm so proud of him. And he's still killing it on the road.
Yeah.
Killing it.
Yeah.
He's selling out freaking huge venues, and he's doing what he loves. He doesn't, quite frankly, I doubt he needs the money. He needs the energy.
Right.
He needs the love, and I get
Right.
it.
Right.
And I don't see. That's the kind of guy like a Mick Jagger and a Aerosmith guys.
Yeah.
You're talking about guys in their 70s who are on top of their game because of what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
They love people.
Yeah.
You gotta love people.
Yeah,
if
it's
you're
funny
gonna
you
be
say
on
that.
stage,
When
bro.
I
If you don't
remember-
like people, you don't
You don't
belong on
belong
Yeah.
stage.
there.
I mean-
Because
Definitely
it's going to show and you're going to fail.
I remember being, junior high, high school, and I would spend a lot of time with my dad on the road, even when I was younger. But sometimes I'd do like 4 or 5 days. When you're in school, like literally like take off a couple days of school, have like a 5-day weekend,
Yeah.
whatever. And when 8 o'clock would hit, when I'd get home after, when showtime would hit, I would actually get depressed. Like that energy, because that energy that you're so used to leaves you on such a high every
does,
night,
it does.
and 2 shows a night or whatever. that I found myself like missing. I wasn't even performing. I was just
No, I get it.
watching my dad, but that energy of bass guitar,
100%.
drums,
Well,
and
not
a
to turn this,
crowd.
not to turn this sour, but that's why so many entertainers get into booze and drugs,
I get it.
because it gives you that false
Right.
feeling of that
You miss that rush.
extreme, adrenaline.
Yeah.
Because adrenaline is a very real drug.
Yeah.
Or a chemical that's in your body that once you have it, you crave it.
Yeah.
It's addicting for sure.
How have you
Oh, yeah.
been able to stay away from that stuff?
I got married to my wife.
Strong Italian woman.
She keeps
Keeps
you in
their
shape.
men strong.
In all
That's
candor, I have
funny.
nothing to hide at all. I've never been into drugs. I'm the kind of guy that I refuse to take an Advil.
Really?
I admit, this is embarrassing to admit, this is going to kill my reputation.
You're gonna kill your street cred right now.
I'm a health food
Never.
nut.
Are you?
I-
Like organic, all.
eating and sleeping, which I don't do, is everything.
Yeah.
I think even more important than working out and everything.
Yeah.
What you put in your body is who you become, because, you know, you eat like shit, you're going to feel like shit.
Yep.
And I have to feel good. I have to be happy all the time.
Sure.
I can never be depressed. I can never be sick. Nothing. So I have to really take care of my body. But I've smoked pot every night for 35 years.
Which now, which used to be frowned upon, but
Now
now.
it's
And at shows, I drink. Because what that does is that for an introverted, quiet guy like me,
Yeah.
it brings out a different side of your personality. Your inhibitions just go bye-bye.
Isn't it crazy when
a
someone-
little bit loosey goosey?
When someone that looks like this and does what he does tells you he's introverted, is that is like
That's
so
true. Oh my
strange?
God.
Yes,
Totally.
but
I'm a
you
loner.
actually, all performers are. I feel like a lot of performers are. We go on stage and we have this different persona, and we go out there and we do our thing, and then we go at home and we're like antisocial.
It's
We're
true.
just like to ourselves because we give it all on stage.
It's
but that's
true. And so when you come
how a
home
lot of people
and
are.
as you're on that high and you're just, for me, you know, some people may do drugs, maybe some people may do this or that, and I don't drink heavily, but smoking a little weed at the end of the night, to me, is every bit as important to my body chemistry as eating asparagus and blueberries and sleeping. Because in a sense, I'm not trying to sell you on anything.
Yeah.
But I'm just telling what works for me.
Right.
It flushes out any stress and things that you can leave bottled up that are going to ultimately release negative chemicals that are going to affect your organs
Yeah.
and make you sick and create disease. If you can somehow train your mind to stay I don't want to get on like a motivational seminar here, but my show, in my opinion, is like a motivational seminar with music.
Yeah.
But if you can somehow train yourself to genuinely be as positive and happy as you can, I think that's the way to stay as healthy as you possibly can. And for me, I have to be healthy for the sake of feeding my family. I have to stay happy
Right.
and positive for the sake of feeding my family now, because my priorities are now, it's not about me anymore at
Sure.
all. It's about my family. And so I will go to extreme lengths to shed negativity out of my life.
That's great.
That's good.
Well, you know,
It's harder.
but
Than,
it's hard.
It's hard.
But because it's all around you all the time,
Yeah.
especially in our business or in this town, it's really hard to shield yourself. And so what I've had to try to train myself to do is not block it, but to accept it and realize I love everybody with whatever flaws they have. Even people in my shows or friends, you factor in who everybody is, you accept them, and you just go from there. And don't let whoever it is that upsets you about them bother you.
Yeah.
Right.
You just factor it in because it's who they are. It's not your issue, it's their issue.
Right.
Good or bad. I'm sure I have issues that they don't like, but they can either repel, hate, or accept.
Right.
And just go with it. And so, you know, like I say, even with people in my bands over the years, they're not all the same people. And if I had a rigid rule book and a manual for exactly how you have to be and what you have to act like, we wouldn't get along ever on any level, as you know.
Yeah.
No, you can't.
You allow people to be who they are.
Yeah.
And just go with it and accept it.
100%.
And they're going to do things that may not, you know, be something you would like them to do, but it's who they are. So who cares? Who gives a shit?
Who gives a shit?
You know, really, you just go with it. Is it all with good intent and heading towards the right direction? Great. So let people be who they are. And don't let people frustrate you with things they say or do. Or, you know, you see Facebook and social media these days and you're just like, how is all this negativity and anger going on out there?
Yeah.
Exhausting.
It's just ridiculous because we're all the same people in this together. And, you know, I try my damnedest to go out there, you know, every weekend in front of a few people and do the best I can to make them feel as good as I can for a couple hours and then send them on their way. And hopefully they take something with them that benefits them, you know, when they might be upset. They might go, yeah, who cares? Who cares? Fucking cares.
Yeah.
What you're doing's working, man.
I know.
I'm very fortunate to get to do what I do. I'm very blessed that somehow I'm still able to do that. And I hope to God I can do it for a few more years. Like I say, what I thought was going to be something that I may have done until my age is now just the beginning. I have to do this for another 20 years somehow,
Let's go.
and I have no choice.
We'll be here supporting
Well,
you. but I have
listen.
no choice.
I have no
Thank you
choice.
for sharing all this with us.
You guys are
Thank you for the
Yeah.
kind words
And where-
about my dad.
And everyone can see you at downtown Fremont.
Thursday and Saturday. Thursday 10, Saturday 11. Fremont Street Experience next to the D Hotel. And then Friday nights at Red Rock, 11 o'clock. And we'll see how long we can
And
keep
no-
this train rolling down the track without
and
it
no-
derailing.
No
Keep it
cover,
rolling.
right? No cover, right? No.
Cover is small cover, but it's
It's like
$5.
$5
Well
or
worth it.
something.
But-
yeah,
but,
it's worth every dollar.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you guys. I appreciate it
Zowie
very much.
Bowie. Awesome, man. That was great. That was perfect. Thank you so much.
No, you
Chris.
guys are so sweet. And so
Aw.
That was fantastic.